Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Legacy Leaders. Today, I am with Patrick Loyal Burke. He is the guy at the head of West Park Barber and Beauty franchise. What that means is he owns a couple different barber shops and some beauty salons and a number of other things around that space. But he's also expanded his empire into different arenas. So, we're going to have a great conversation today about what it's like to be a business owner, starting with a barber and working your way into what is pretty much a Northeast Ohio empire. And I'll let Patrick tell us a little bit more about that. So, without too much ado, the microphone and camera are yours, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how we got here.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess just a quick little rundown. Yeah, so my name is Patrick Loyal Burke. I am from West Park in Cleveland, Ohio. Born and raised here, went to OLA, went to St. Ed's. Uh, Dropped out of high school, so I can't really necessarily put a graduate of St. Ed's on my resume, although all my friends are. But I kind of took a little bit of a harder path to get to where I'm at. So never finished school. Now I've had I think I had about 16 businesses currently. I think I'm down to like maybe around 12 or something. I have four barber shops. I have a salon. I'm also somewhat of a silent partner in another beauty brand in Northeast Ohio. I also own a barber school. I have a supply company. I have a property real estate investment company. I have a t-shirt company. I'm also a national educator for the world's largest scissor company. I'm also the head director of education for a global clipper company. And I'm also the head director of education for a national um, hair product company that is uh, throughout Northeast Ohio, in obviously in barbershops, salons, schools, certain things like that, and as well as even down to like Walmart and different retail centers. So I handle a lot of stuff. I've had staff of over 100 people. I think now I'm down to maybe in like the 70s or 80s or something in that range. It's kind of hard to determine. We do somewhat, we don't always have a large turnover, but sometimes there are. Um, Let's see. All my businesses have been developed through this industry, and everything that I do is tied in this industry. I've sold a couple businesses over the last few years. We had a couple wellness centers. So I had Boost Wellness, which was we had a location in Highland Heights. We had a location in Avon Lake. Um, and then I also had a dog grooming business. We had West Bark Dog Grooming, and I sold that to its current owner, which is Platinum Pooch. A bit of a serial entrepreneur. I have a lot of different businesses, but everything has been somewhat combined back into barbering, whether it was through something that had barber and beauty industry, or if it was just through the network that I built throughout my brand.
All right, there's a lot to unpack here, and I appreciate you
Sure.
taking us through this because there's a lot, right? And full disclosure, I get my haircut at West Park because the
Yeah.
vibe is fantastic. The people are amazing. So, testament to you and the way you run your business is you've got a
Thank
bunch
you.
of individual contractors, right? That have
Correct.
seats in your shop, but they're all incredible guys. They have this really cool network. So I want to talk a little bit about the network that you've created because, in my opinion, this is one of the secrets that make your success happen. Because you're within the world of barber and beauty, you have this really cool network of people that you've learned and got relationships with over the course of these years. That is a strong suit. So walk me through how did you build such a strong network over the years?
Well, everything was done pretty much organically, so I didn't get into this industry with the intentions of growing to where I was. I mean, I just wanted to have one barber shop. I wanted to run it with, you know, it was a small neighborhood barber shop, so I wanted to take care of the community and the people and friends. So that was really just the main focus. Again, never envisioned trying to grow my brand to where it was. I think it again just grew naturally and organically because we did do things the right way. Um, it's a saying that everybody knows. It's like it is what it is. But people always say your net worth is your net worth, and
Hmm.
to me, that's really been extremely valuable to me was the connections and the relationships that we built in this industry. I talk a lot about my students. Right now, currently, my full-time job mainly is my school. So trying to help mold and mentor the new generation and youth of barbers, but primarily with giving them the understanding that like customer service and the relationships and the network and or the relationships that you build in this industry are so much more valuable than just money. Like if you look at your clients as a monetary value, then it'll strictly just stay a business transaction. To whereas I encourage developing the relationships with the individuals, and then you get so much more out of it. So
Yeah.
I think kind of enforcing that and having everybody understand that like if you come to the shop and you stand behind your chair, you're obviously going to make money. What's more important than that is, again, the relationships that you meet with these people. We're one of the very few professions that you actually physically put your hands on your clients. So there is a bit of
Yeah.
that connection that you have with your clients. So it's a little bit more personal rather than just, dropping your car off at your local mechanic shop and saying, all right, Bob, I'll be back next week. This is a little bit more of a personal connection that you have with your customers where you are there at intimate times, whether it's funerals, weddings, firstborn child, whatever it may be. It could be your kid's first haircut. I don't know. There's just a lot of intimate connections that you make in this industry. So it just makes it that much more valuable. And I think that's why you're starting to see such a rise in uh, barbering and the new, um, you know, everybody, it's kind of more of like a I don't know if it's say it's a fun or a cool job, but I just remember back in the day when I first became a barber, and if you got no conversation, hey, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a barber. They're kind of just like, oh,
Hmm.
what'd you do to become a barber? Like what happened? And at the time, it was kind of yeah, true. A little bit of my story. I think some of you guys might also know when I was younger, I was a little bit of a troublemaker, so got myself in trouble and went to prison for quite a while. So it kind of took away what I really truly wanted to do when I was younger in St. Ed's is I wanted to be a fireman. And obviously getting in
Oh,
trouble
wow.
and I'm Irish and Italian, used to love to drink and fight, kind of caught up to me. So it kind of took away the ability to be a fireman, and that's kind of how I naturally gravitated towards being a barber. But I think in this day and age, it's becoming a little bit more popular and common and maybe cool to be a barber.
Yeah, I wouldn't say your path is your path is different than most, Pat. There's no other way around that. But I
Sure.
think what makes your pathway such an interesting storyline is you never gave up and you always had your core that helped you through whatever side you were on. And I
Yeah.
love I love the conversation. And I want to just get back to you said my businesses have grown organically because I've done things the right way. And you did a little bit of explaining what you believe is the right way. I just want to kind of go down this rabbit hole a little bit because I think it's
Sure.
important. You said relationships, the connections, the vibe and feel of what happens when you're in the shop. I think that's so important. And the
Hmm.
idea that you actually put your hands on somebody is a completely different environment than any other service industry that's out there. But one thing that I think makes your business, in particular the experiences that I have when I'm there at the shop and others as well, otherwise we wouldn't keep coming back. It's not the way you make us look. It's not the way you make us um, aesthetically change. It's how you make us feel when we're in the shop that makes the difference,
Absolutely.
right? And it's as simple as what TV show is playing on the TV, what music is being played, if that's what you got going on. What's the conversation in the shop like, right? So it's that intimacy that is beyond the touch. It's when I'm done, I feel a completely different way than when I walked in. And
Sure.
that's the beauty, not to make a pun out of it, but that's the beauty of your industry, right?
Hmm.
Is there's something about the connection you have with your clientele. And this is what I'm trying to get people to realize no matter what business you're in, restaurant, you make widgets, you sell retail, whatever it is, people will always remember how you made them feel when they're done with that interaction. If you can master or at least bring that into the experience, man, you're going to have a really solid experience with somebody and they're going to want to keep coming back. I mean, pricing, we don't need to get into pricing, but that's always a variable. But when you're doing something
Yeah.
like this, it's the experience and the feel that makes people have that confidence and comfort to come back. So I think that's what you mean by doing it the right way.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the things that I've always hammered into our clients, or I mean, into my staff, was that, we're in the customer service industry. So our
Hmm.
job is to serve the customer, right? It's not about us, it's about them. Doesn't matter what we want to watch on TV. It's about the environment, it's about the clients. Doesn't matter what kind of music we want to listen to. It's about the environment. It's what's conducive to the clients and to the atmosphere that we have at that time. So I try to constantly preach that on my guys. Fortunately, my brand got really, really big. We started doing all the Browns players and Cavs and Indians. We started getting a lot of recognition and a lot of stuff. And unfortunately, some of my staff members started thinking or using that opportunity as for them to be some celebrities. And in this industry, again, the only celebrities in the room are our clients. So unfortunately, I had to part ways with some of my staff over the last few years that a little bit of the ego kind of got in the way, and they've started feeling like maybe they're a little bit bigger than barbering or the brand itself. So I wanted to quickly bring our staff back to what it was in the past that really made and grew our brand. And that was going up and beyond, giving exceptional customer service, setting the environment for our clients, and keeping it in like a family style kind of environment, right?
Yeah.
Um, to touch back on pricing, in the beginning of my industry, the beginning of my career when I first started building this brand, and I knew we had something special, but I wanted to get it out there, and I wanted everybody to come in and see what we had and what we were doing. So for me, like in the beginning, low prices mean high volume. So I set pricing that was very competitive to just draw a bunch
Hmm.
of people into the brand, and then we just kind of grew it from there. As we went over the last 2 decades, I guess. Yeah, this February would be my 20-year anniversary.
That's outstanding.
It's
So when
wild,
you're
yeah.
yeah, when you're talking about pricing, so when you started out, low pricing brings you volume. How do you make that tipping point decision to alter your pricing?
Well, I mean, it just was again. So, like I just said, it's kind of showing my age a little bit, but February would be 20 years. So, 20 years ago, again, that's also when we was back when barbering wasn't really like as cool or as much as mainstream as it is now. But so prices were very low and competitive back then, and I think honestly, I think like kind of COVID was one of the defining moments that we realized that we really were somewhat essential um,
Hmm.
to our clients, and that our value really was we really were undervalued for so many years, that it started kind of and it kind of the industry itself kind of people really started pushing the bar with this
Hmm.
with their pricing. I think it somewhat did a disservice to the industry and to the individuals, because when people were raising their prices, that's when all that PPP money was coming through. It's when everybody was flooded with all this extra money because of COVID. People weren't out really spending as much money. So they really started trying to maximize the amount of what they can get in their haircuts. And I think they took it to a point that when that money kind of started dying out, then clients were like, man, I can't really afford this weekly haircut that I was used to. So I think that was something that was happening across the board. I feel like my brand, we kept our pricing very competitive and very common to what was across Northeast Ohio. And not only that, but just nationally. Um, so, but I think, some of the barbers out here were really trying to like take that to extreme. And I think it kind of hurt them to a certain extent.
Well, the purpose of asking a question about pricing is always interesting to me that you should never sacrifice your value for whatever somebody perceives to be the price they're willing to pay. Your value is exactly what somebody should be willing to pay because of how you make them feel, like I said, and the results of their
Hmm.
experience with you, right? If you're
Sure,
charging, not to get, if you're charging $1 and every haircut is really shitty, how many haircuts are you going
sure,
to get a chance to do? Right.
sure.
So as the value of what you're doing rises, so does the price that somebody should expect to be paying for it because you're better than the guy in the shop or the chair next to you. So eventually the value comes through. And I think that's what the value of being really good at what you do has to say in the marketplace. Let's
Sure.
shift gears real quick.
Yeah.
Thinking about all the different things you've gone through, what's one of the bigger challenges that you think would be a great lesson that somebody can learn from? And then talk to me a little bit on how you fixed or overcame that challenge to get beyond that hurdle.
Well, there's a lot that I can mention. I think one of the most important lessons and things that I had to do for myself was like, I think what a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand, and for myself too, I was up to 12 locations at one point in time, right? So building out a shop is very easy to me. I could build a whole entire beautiful barbershop in 90 days. I've done it dozens of times. It's very simple. It's very easy. I can grab barbers. I can attract people to come to the brand and the business. A lot of that is very easy to me. So opening up shop schools, that's nothing. I think the hardest challenge that I've had to go through myself personally is understanding how to mentally prepare myself to get through all of the objects and hurdles. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Especially when you're to the point where you're as large as I am or have as large a staff, it's every day is something. Every day I'm dealing with some kind of situation or scenario. Every day, I got to learn how to not take certain things personal. Whether somebody's leaving, I don't want to take it personal because it might be for them bettering themselves. They could be leaving because they could be jealous of or envious of the shopper
Sure.
situation. They could be leaving because they have a better opportunity that's better for them and their families. So both are somewhat understandable. But not taking those scenarios or situations personally, and then just learning how to set aside again my personal thoughts and opinions on something and understand how to mentally navigate through the ups and downs and hurdles and getting to there. Uh, I finally at 46, or here's what's helping me now at 46 is I finally at 46 years old, um, opening the school. Here, I'll take it back a little bit. Opening the school is the first time that I finally felt somewhat successful. I don't know. I've never
Okay.
really felt successful growing up through these industries. Three shops, four shops, five shops. Still didn't feel very successful. I think a lot of it somewhat, I hate to say it like this, but some of it somewhat came somewhat a little bit easier.
Okay.
The building the school was a very big thing for me that I worked on for a very long time. So when I finally opened up the school, I finally, at a point in time, I finally felt somewhat successful. Still not content, still ain't where I want to be. We'll get into this a little bit more, but I plan on taking my schools nationally across the country. So I'd like to have 50 schools. But right now, it's the first time that I felt successful, still not content. And it is also the first time in 46 years that I truly believe, and I'm a very strong man of faith, but I firmly believe that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. And that's somewhat reassuring, and that can help me get through trials and tribulations and the ups and downs of this industry. Just knowing that, hey, I'm doing what the good Lord blessed me to do on this earth. So there's always going to be challenges, hurdles, obstacles, but it's a lot more easy to get through and navigate knowing that, like, hey, it is what it is. Just get through it. Still know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's amazing perspective on life, an amazing
It's,
perspective on your success, right? Because you could easily say, and you made the comment, the first couple shops came almost too easy. And then you didn't really know what the struggles might have been. And then trying to put this school together and understanding that's what you really wanted to do. And once you finally got to that point, it's like, oh, shit, like, okay, now I understand why I'm doing this and what the purpose behind it is. And one of the things I wanted to touch back on is, when you said something about, facing the challenges of every day and whether somebody leaves or they want to stay, whatever somebody leaves or the reasons for leaving would be either jealousy or what have you. And it's pulling yourself away from the emotional side of it and
mm-hmm.
realizing it's not personal, it's only business, right?
Yep.
And when you have the network of people that you have within your circle and you have the relationships that you have, I would assume when somebody does come to you and they say they want to leave, they're not doing it because they want to spite you. They're doing it because you've given them every opportunity to be successful. And now they get a chance to actually go find their success in a different level. It's almost as if, that old adage of you treat and train people well enough that they can leave, But when
Yeah,
you treat them well enough, they want to stay. But if they've outgrown you, it's not in your best interest to hold them back, right?
100%. I'm learning that somewhat the hard way, and usually it's always like the closest ones to you that's the scenario. And I always wish everybody the best. And again, sometimes some opportunities are because they have a better opportunity. It's something that's going to be better for them and their family. And for that, I'm 110% behind them. I don't, West Park's not for everybody. For some people, it is a good stepping stone. It is a good resource to learn and get trained and mentored and all of those things. And when people leave my brand, if they do it the right way, there's always still that relationship. Not everybody does it that way.
Mhm.
Sometimes, unfortunately, people's egos really do get the best of them and they feel like they should be in maybe different positions than what they are. And then they go out and seek that. And I wish them the best of luck with that as well.
Sure. I mean, like you said, this is a relationship business, right? And
Yep.
treating people the way they ought to be treated. Sometimes it's they're right on the mark, and sometimes it's not what they think they should be treated, but you're giving them the level of respect that they have demonstrated back. Let's leave it at
Yeah.
that, right? All right. So as we build this brand and we have all these different things, how do you manage all the different responsibilities and the different businesses in such a way that you're able to survive, wake up every morning and know this is what I'm doing today? How does that work for you since there's so many different brands underneath you?
Well, let's So hopefully this isn't a long roundabout way, but so one of the things that I'm doing right now with my instructors at my school is obviously we're teaching these students. I have 30 something students right now, right?
Wow. Okay.
And even some of my instructors are new to this. They might have a lot of experience and knowledge, but they might be new to instructing. So when we're teaching certain lessons, I'm also training my instructors to look and see how that individual student learns, right? Some of us are visual learners where you got to be on a board or like a breakdown, a YouTube video on how to specifically cut certain things or this, that, and the other. Some people might be more of like it needs to be like compensation where they read it and understand what the different angles or certain things are. Some people are maybe a little bit more hands-on where you got to physically walk them through a particular haircut or something like that, right? So there's a few different ways that an individual student can learn that information, right?
Yeah.
And I got that from growing my businesses and understanding. And my job as the owner um, is to maximize everybody's good qualities. So not everybody is management material, right? Not everybody's
Yeah.
owner material. Some people are just workers. So my job is to find out and bring the best out of each of my individual barbers. So some of my guys are natural leaders, so I kind of gravitate towards them, towards management or maybe even partnership. Some of my guys don't want that responsibility. They just want to show up and work 9 to 5. So my job is to find out people's strong suits, capitalize on them, help them, with their weaknesses, and then grow the brand from there. Uh, for example, my shops, when you walk in the shops, I run large shops, right? So there's a front door, there's a back door. I usually have maybe say 8 to 10 guys, whatever, right? The first couple guys to the front door are greeters. Those are guys that are a little bit more better with conversation, might just have a little bit more of a bubblier, open, more style personality. So I keep those type of guys towards the front and back of the shop because those are greeters. When people are walking in, hey, how you doing? This and to help facilitate. Towards the middle of my shop is more of my management that helps oversee everything that's going on. And everybody's kind of has their own responsibility, and I delegate everybody's jobs and what everybody's supposed to do. So I don't necessarily expect one person to do 10 jobs. I expect 10 people to do one job. And then the one guy kind of overlooks and sees everything.
I love this, Pat, because this is a really good example of how you can take the skill set of delegation and turn it into an asset, right?
Sure.
I just listening to you, and the thing I wrote down is you find a way to delegate through your confidence in somebody and the experience you've had with them, so they can maximize their skill set. And if that's the way you delegate, that's the way you set up the shop for a process or for a systematic approach to customer interface.
Sure.
That is exactly what every business should be thinking about, right? Because most people think, I just have to find somebody to do this. Yes, you have to find somebody to do that role, but you have to find the right person to do it. And how do you find the right person to do it if you don't know much about them? Well, as you said, you have confidence in them because you know who they are from experience and what they demonstrate on a daily basis. Yeah, if you're a really good, talkative, openly, bubbly personality, yeah, I want you to be greeting my customers. But if you're somebody who doesn't feel comfortable doing that, I can't put you in that role. So it's a really good identification of skill sets by individual as opposed to, well, I need to hire somebody to do this role. Let's go find somebody. No, no, no. You already have somebody. Let's find the right person for that role. That's the old adage of, let's get the right people on the bus. Now you're talking about getting
Yeah,
the right people on the bus, but put them in the right seats, right?
sure.
Because you can't have people. I always say this: you can't have a soccer player on the ice thinking he's going to be able to play hockey. Just doesn't
Yeah.
work, right?
Well, I also, I used to run guys through, yeah, and I came up with a lot of systems and things that I've always been conscious of areas that might need help or tweaking or adjusting, whatever it may be. So I've always come up with, like you said, systems, ways to make this easier and make everybody responsible. And I remember at the first shop, everybody would go through a series of jobs. So, like the newest guy in the building, the newest employee, you can have been cutting hair for a week, you've been cutting hair for 20 years. You can be 17, you could be 46. It doesn't matter. The newest person in the building, your job is bathrooms, right? You got to make
Mhm.
sure that the bathrooms are always clean. If my mother or my grandmother walks in the door, they better be able to use that bathroom, right? And then once you go from that, the next person comes in, then you bump up. So then the next job, um, might be garbage. Your job is to make sure that all the garbage is out every single day, right? And then after you bump up from there, then you go to front and back, right? The front and back of the barber shop is a visual representation of us, right? So if there's trash and stuff laying all out and customers are walking up and it looks like it's trashy, then they're going to expect the same results when they walk in the door. They're going to think the place is dirty. So then I had a person, then you had to clean up the front and back, make sure there's no cigarette butts, no garbage. Then after that, then you go to towels, right? And then so two people are on towels, they split the responsibility, just make sure towels are. And then after that, then it goes down to maybe it's windows, right? You only got to do windows once a week, make sure the windows are clean, this, that, and the other. And then after you get through that, then you've made it through all the steps that are necessary, and then you become a manager. And the reason why that's been beneficial is I remember one time I had this Spanish kid and he didn't smoke, right? And then he went from, bathrooms to garbage to sweeping up the front and back of the place. And he used to always say, he's like, man, I don't even smoke. Why do I got to do this? Why do I got to do this? And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
this is just the job. This is part of the responsibilities of keeping the house full. Your family, or when I meant family, like your customer base, your people, they come in here, they smoke, they could be throwing cigarette butts out. So it's everybody's responsibility. So even though he didn't want to do it, I made him do it. And then when he got through the steps, then when somebody else would come in behind him, and if he was walking in the door and seeing garbage or cigarette butts on the ground, he'd be quick to go grab that guy, like, hey, wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
Pat had me out here sweeping up cigarette butts for a year and a half, and I didn't even smoke. I'll be damned if you're just going to walk past this. So then people started kind of policing themselves inside the shop and holding each
Yeah.
other accountable because we all had that responsibility. And then after you go through all those steps, then you make it to a manager that now oversees and makes sure all those responsibilities are done. Doesn't do it for them. Is not their boss. I always tell guys, if I got to be your boss, I'll get rid of you. I don't want to be nobody's boss. All right, we're coworkers. So then they would make sure that was done. And then once they gone through all those steps, and that was a great candidate for me to open up a shop with because he completely understands how we operate. He understands all the jobs and systems. He understands why they have to be done. And I think when I was training those guys in the younger years, that's what kind of helped us just grow naturally and organically, is because everybody kind of understood their stuff. Now, again, I dropped out of school, right? So I always say you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just got to be the hardest working. And I was able
Yeah.
to work really hard, and through common sense, I was able to delegate certain responsibilities that needed to be done, and it just kind of naturally went from there.
Well, I'm a big believer in school doesn't necessarily equal education, and
No,
certificates and letters behind your name doesn't necessarily equal intelligence. It's all
no,
about how do you interact and how do you behave and what connections you make. And this has been a great example of how relationships and the connections and how you make somebody feel can steamroll itself into a successful career. And you
sure,
you, you said, after 46 years, this is what you've learned. No, it's taken you 46 years to get to this point, but you're going to learn something new tomorrow morning, right? Every,
100%.
every day is going to be a different learning experience. And that's what's so great about people like you is regardless of what you know, you're open to learning something new. And that's why you find 12 different businesses and you have all these different staff members and people that are willing to contribute to what you do because it's bigger than you. And they want to be a
Sure.
part of that because they understand whatever it is you're doing, it's bigger
Yeah.
than it's bigger than right now because it's
Oh,
it's it's something different.
I say that all the time, and I always laugh that majority of people don't even know who I am. They know who West Park Barbershop is. There's a lot of people that know
Yeah.
West Park Barbershop, but a lot of people have no clue who the hell I am. And that's good. That's how I've always wanted it to be. I wanted it to be the West Park Barber brand, not Patrick Burke Barbering, right?
Yeah.
So it has worked out like that. And so yeah, it's been pretty cool to see a brand
I
like
would
that.
say it turns out pretty damn well for you. This has been an amazing experience just getting to know you over the years. And
Yeah.
and um, here's an interesting point I want the audience to know. You were my first barber at West Park, and
Hmm.
over the years, your schedule just got limited and limited, and we just never aligned. So you were so gracious to pass me off to different barbers, and now it's like I feel really good because you felt good enough in our relationship to say, "Oh, here's somebody I trust. He'll take care of you," and
Yeah.
it wasn't. I just fell right into relationship, and it's been great because every barber there is fantastic. Every person is a real, authentic individual, and
Yeah.
it's been an amazing experience. I want people to know that it's not just getting your haircut; it's an experience that you can feel proud of. So, thank you for creating such an environment.
Well,
I
thanks.
can't believe, yeah, dude, we've been talking for quite a while, and we're about closed out. So, I want to thank you for being on the program. It's been excellent.
Yeah.
Any final words?
No, I'm extremely grateful. Thank you for having me on. I don't get an opportunity to do a lot of like these podcasts, which is really what I kind of enjoy and like doing. So thanks for having me on. This is pretty cool. Outside of that, no, I guess just I'm still excited for growth. Again, I'm not content where I'm at. I still have a long journey left ahead of me. But I am excited for the future. I'm excited for also opening more opportunities for the people around me and the ones
Yeah,
that believed in me, the ones that stood by me, that they know that like when this is all said and done, you know, I don't want to be the only one sitting on a beach, right? I want our
yeah.
whole team out there with us. I want us all on vacation together. So um, definitely look forward to that. And again, I'm very blessed and fortunate for the people around me. Obviously, I could not have done this myself. I get the recognition and get the opportunity to do, like podcasts and one-on-ones like this. But, I have a whole team of 30, 40 people behind me that if I didn't have them behind me, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So very grateful for that. Very grateful for my family. My stepdad was a major part in helping my growth. My wife is a huge part in all of this, holding me down. I travel every single weekend. I do about 90 flights a year just for work. So a lot of time away from family, a lot of time going into this brand, but I have a lot of backing from family, friends, and everybody behind me. So very blessed, very grateful. And thanks again to you for having me
Oh,
on.
absolutely my pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and consider you a friend. So thank you for being on the program.
Yes, well, thank you. And then I'll see you hopefully at the golf outing. We got the,
You know that's happening. All
yeah.
right. I'll see you soon.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks again.
everybody.
Appreciate you.
Yep.